Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today on the rally. I'm super excited because we have Danielle Wolter from, tell me again the name of the inspection company because it just went out of my
I
head.
know everybody knows my name and they forget the
Yeah,
name of the company. It's Morrison plus property inspections.
there you go. And you guys are awesome. I've used you before and plan on using you again when I have some
Awesome.
more deals that I need inspections on and not listings. But thank you so much for being here, and I'm excited to hear all about why it's so important to have a good qualified home inspector.
Totally agree. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure working with you, of course. And I'll kind of get into it a little bit if you're ready for me to start.
Yeah, yep.
All right. Well, I'm going to go through kind of three separate things. So the importance of getting a home inspector, a little bit on how to prep your buyers and your sellers for the inspection, and also what to look for in a home inspector. So number one, the importance of a home inspection. I know that it can be a little bit of a hassle. You have to schedule it. You never know what can come up. There can be some real special surprises during a home inspection, but it's very important for the buyers because what a home inspection does is it enables us to identify like any significant issues that may affect the value of the home, the habitability of the home, or the safety of the home. So we've run across a number of safety issues during an inspection that have to be fixed before a buyer can move in. So it also helps to identify some home maintenance items and preventative measures that they can take to make sure they keep their home in a good condition. Because there are some home buyers, especially first-time home buyers, that may not know everything involved with maintaining a home.
Mhm.
So even if we inspect it and there's no significant issues, either myself or my inspector will go through some of the items that they should look out for. Such as repairing cracks, just keeping them sealed. Cracking is not that big of a deal. There are significant cracks sometimes, but typically cracking that we find in a home is not a problem. It's not something to be scared of, but it is something you want to keep maintained. Learning where your water shutoff is, where your gas shutoff is, all those items that you don't think about until all of a sudden your house is flooding and you're like, I don't know where the water shutoff is. We did that at our own house. I mean, honestly, we did it at our own house. But if you know all those things about the home before you move in, it's going to make the transition a lot easier, especially for folks first time home buyers.
Yeah,
Something
because
else
they
that
get
we look
nervous. That's for
they
sure.
do, they
Yes.
do. And I mean, that's something that we specialize into. We try to make sure everyone's comfortable with what we report on. Now, obviously, like the house is the house. We can't change what the issues are, but the way we present it to the buyers, it helps them feel more comfortable. Something may sound more significant than it actually is. Um, Especially like leaky faucets, any areas where there's, water leaking. A lot of times it's a pretty simple fix. And we want to make sure everyone's comfortable with those things. But that said, so that's what we do during a home inspection. We're also looking for, especially in San Diego, any apparent additions that have been made to the home.
Mm.
We don't personally check for permits. Couldn't think of the word. We don't personally check for permits, but usually we can walk into a home and almost immediately know when there's been an addition done. So that's just something that we mention to the buyers, like just check and make sure it's properly permitted.
Yeah.
That said, I have had friends move into homes that have additions that aren't permitted. It's just something you want to know before you purchase the house. Um, Also, like all the items that we find in an inspection report are a negotiating tool for buyers. Now, I know in this market, there's not as much negotiation going on as there have been in maybe a buyer's market. But that said, I'm still seeing, especially for the agents we work with a lot, I'm still seeing a lot of issues like, for instance, outdated panels, outdated wiring. Um, we've seen
Mhm.
some roofs that are pretty hammered. Those issues, we're still seeing those getting fixed by sellers, or at least seeing buyers get a significant credit for them. So you want all this information, so at least you can go into a negotiation with something solid, saying, "Hey, like these are big, expensive issues here. Like, help us out."
Yeah.
um,
And it's great
and
too to point out real quick, Danielle, that you guys
yeah,
are great about if I'm looking through the report and I have a question about something, I know I can reach out to you and ask you, is this something, my clients need to be worried about, or can we just
Yes.
move on?
Yeah,
So
100%. And we always encourage that. And I know we've had, I know Kevin, he's my inspector. He gets phone calls all the time from buyers and agents calling and asking about an item in the report. And we're more than happy to walk through any of those issues. That said, if we miss something in a home or something comes up that maybe wasn't apparent, then we'll always go back out and make sure we get that, we get that covered for you also. And then lastly, like the buyer should know, I guess, basically the status of the bigger systems in the home. Like for instance, the HVAC, we run across a lot of HVAC systems that are working, like they're completely operational, but they're older. So a buyer needs to know that they are buying an older system, and especially systems that we consider past their useful life. In those situations, as long as the buyer knows, they understand that maybe in the next few years that they may have to replace that. It's just more information for them in the process. So for instance, when we bought our house, we had a 17-year-old water heater. Like they're not meant to last that long. They're meant to last like 10 to 12 years. And it lasted for 4 more years. So it was fine, and then it exploded. So as long as you know, but when it happened, we were prepared. We're like, yeah, we knew this was going to happen. So like buyers just, so it's not an emergency. And especially when you're first moving into a house, you've usually spent a lot of your cash. So you just want to understand what could potentially happen, and maybe save a little bit of your money for that potential expense that you might have to spend. So that's why you want to get a home inspection. Always, always very, very important. There's a lot of houses where you walk into, especially as a buyer, you walk into and it looks amazing. It's beautiful. They've done a great job with all the cosmetic fixtures. You have new kitchen appliances. Everything looks great. But sometimes what's behind that hasn't always been updated. So we have seen a lot of homes that have been, let's call them flips. I know that's a term that that isn't always endeared, but just for purposes of explanation. And they look beautiful, which is great. It's great to have a beautiful looking home. But if the HVAC system is 30 years old and the roof is at the end of its life, those are going to be some extra added expenses that buyers are going to want to know about. And they're items that aren't typically looked at when somebody walks through a house at the first time. You usually walk through a house and you fall in love with the way it looks, the location, the neighborhood. You're not falling in love with the brand new HVAC system. I am, but most buyers are not, so it just gives them a little extra information. And I want to touch on really quick, I won't spend too much time on this here, but pre-sale inspections as well. I know agents go back and forth on that. Some agents love it, some agents don't. Regardless, one thing pre-inspections can do for you is they can help sellers identify issues that they may have not known about, or issues that are going to come up in the buyer's inspection report. And it at least gets them prepared for the possible request for repair, or it shows them items that maybe they can fix really quick, and it won't come up during the buyer's inspection, which is helpful too. And I'll go through a little bit of those later, some of the things a seller can do to prep for putting the home up for sale that will make the home inspection go a little bit smoother. But I will 100%, of course, biasly promote a pre-listing home inspection.
That's a good
So
idea.
it is. And I know it is an expense for the seller. The way we do our pre-inspections, it's the exact same way we do our buyer side home inspection. It's the same scope of work. We look at all the same things, and it is money out of pocket for the seller, but it helps them to know what some of the issues are that are probably going to come up in the inspection. So just something to think about. Yeah, 100%.
And I like that them being able to, if it's a small item, they can get their handyman in or whatever and fix that prior to going on the market. So
yeah, 100%. And I have some agents that every listing they do, they get a inspection for it. So, and it just depends, if everybody has a different way of doing it, but if that's something you're interested in, we do that as well.
Okay, good. Good to know.
Yep. Yep. And okay, so that's moving on. So then I want to talk a little bit about how to prep your buyer and seller for the home inspection. So like we're seeing a ton of brand new first time home buyers. I'm sure you guys are too.
Mm.
But a lot of the buyers we're dealing with are first time home buyers, surprisingly enough in this expensive market. Um, so that said, for buyers, they need to understand that there are going to be issues, like no matter what. So we do new construction inspections as well, and there's always issues.
Mm.
So no matter what kind of property they're buying, as long as they understand there are going to be issues, but they should understand that all those issues are fixable. Almost every single thing that we will put in an inspection report is something that can be fixed. Now there's the occasional thing that comes up, like a cracked slab. They may not be willing to fix that, but that is still fixable.
Mhm.
But I understand they may not be willing to fix that, but that those are much more rare occasions. Almost everything else that comes up is fixable. The inspection report will be long and somewhat tedious. We try to keep it as succinct as possible, but our goal is to provide the buyer or the seller with as much information as possible so that they understand about their home, regardless of whether it's going to come into play during negotiations or any of that. We want to make sure they understand everything in their home that may be an issue. A lot of it's going to be small, but they should understand when they get that, 30, 40, sometimes 50, 60 page
Mhm.
inspection report, that a lot of what's in there is not going to be a make or break type of issue. It's just for their information. And we always explain that when we do the inspection. But as agents, it's good to help your buyers understand like what to expect during the inspection.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
glad you brought that up too, because I always do that and always let them know just what you said. Even on new construction, there are going
mhm.
to be issues. So this report is going to have issues. Just we'll go through it. We'll talk about the things that are really important and the things that you can let go.
Yes, 100%. And on that note too, especially for agents that are newer and maybe haven't gone through the inspection process, very many times or want to learn a little more about it, I'm always happy to walk them through how it works, what some of the bigger issues we find are. Like, anybody, just shoot me a text, give me a call anytime. Shelly, you have my number. You can disseminate it out if you'd like.
Mm.
Anytime, I'm more than happy to answer any questions or walk you through the process or anything like that so that you understand it better and you know how to present it to your buyers. So like you seem like a seasoned agent has done this a bunch of times. So whatever I can do to help.
That's
So that's it. Yeah. So every inspection typically takes between 2 and 3 hours. It varies a little bit. If it's a big like multifamily property, it could be a lot more extensive. But typically an inspection of a single family home, regular size, is going to be between 2 and 3 hours. And the cost typically ranges, this is a completely average cost, between 450 and 550 an inspection. There's variables. Condos are going to be cheaper. They usually start at around the like 375 range. Trying to do this off the top of my head. I don't know, remember all of my prices, but
doing great.
and yeah, and if you have a especially price conscious client, at least from my perspective, I obviously can't talk for other inspectors. Just give me a call. We're always willing to work with them the best that we can. So don't rule us out. We're not the most expensive, but we're also not the cheapest. So kind of right there
You,
in the middle. But
do you
regardless of
do
who you
pool
choose, oh,
inspections?
we
Do
do pool
you,
inspections. Yes.
and also mold
We do mold testing. We don't
mold
call it
testing?
mold inspections because we don't open up any walls or anything like that. So we will do swab testing of like a specific area that might have evidence of mold. And then we also can do air testing as well. We just don't do any destructive testing. All of our testing is non-destructive.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. And then I always recommend that the buyers attend the inspection, at least at the last 30 minutes. They don't have to be there the entire time because it can get a little boring, but at least during the last 30 minutes, because it gives us a chance to walk the buyers through what some of the issues are in the home. And we find that walking them through and maybe even pointing out some of them if they like to see things visually, we find that helps them feel better. about what the issue is, because if buyers are just getting this giant report, you get this long report, it's got all these issues on it. It's scary. It's scary and it's intimidating. But if the inspector's already gone through what the significant issues are, and then you as the agent is,
Oh, shoot.
well, we typically ask for in a request for repair or not. And then yeah, and so just walking them through it, that really helps. It really helps them understand what it is and understand that maybe some of the issues are very fixable. And
Right.
I know Kevin, at least he's, I mean, a little better than I am at explaining like how you can fix some of these issues also.
Yeah, that's what I always tell my buyers is to come for the last, 45 minutes to an hour and walk through with the inspector. I did just have
Yes.
one where she came at the beginning and had a list of everything and then stayed for the whole inspection. But she
Yep.
felt a lot better about it when it was all said and done, that she was there for the whole thing.
Yes. Well, and that's perfectly fine too. Like we have absolutely no problem with people being there the entire time. Our actually biggest problem is when they're not there at all.
Yeah.
So we have also FaceTimed a few times with buyers who especially aren't locally located. Because like I said, we want to do whatever we can to make them feel comfortable, and we encourage questions or concerns. Especially even before the inspection, if the buyer has specific concerns, you guys as agents or even, the buyers themselves, let us know what those concerns are, and we'll make sure that we pay close attention to that at the inspection and that we address it. Obviously, most of these we're going to address anyways, but just to make sure the buyer is comfortable and we get all of their questions answered. And even if they forget to ask a question during the inspection, or like we talked about earlier, if they have a question after the fact in the report, we're happy to walk through any of the items in the report that they may want a little better understanding on. We're happy to do that. And we would prefer to do that if they start to get scared and, you feel like they might back out. I'm happy to come in. We've done it before. I don't want to say talk them down, but like make sure they understand like what this thing is that they're scared of. Make sure they fully understand it. And I mean, if it's a no-go, it's a no-go. I mean, we can't help with that, but we can help them understand. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're
We're
right.
always happy to do any of that.
It's scary, especially as a first-time buyer. It's really scary. But if you're thinking you're buying this beautiful house and you're spending over $1 million, and then all of a sudden, like you said, you have this 60-page report of everything that's wrong with it. I mean,
Yes.
that's frightening.
It is. I will say the first house I ever bought, I guess it was the second house. The first one was new, but I was like, oh my God, what is this? Now I don't even, it doesn't matter. Like I'll buy whatever. It doesn't matter. Like I know what it is. So seasoned buyers are a little bit easier. They kind of know what the process is, and just kind of, we work with some investors too, and they're like, yeah, I don't care about any of this stuff. We just want to make sure like the house isn't sliding down the hill.
Right.
Which sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. I won't lie. Okay, and then from the seller side, when the seller is getting ready to list the home, so number one, seller, a lot of times they're emotionally attached to their homes. But as long as they understand that their home is going to have some issues, like things are going to be found, even if they've taken really good care of it, there's still going to be some things that we report. It's not personal. It's just some things that we report, and they just need to like understand that it's not, it is going to happen. That said, they also need to understand that it's going to take a while for the inspections. We've shown up to inspections before with the seller thinking they just needed to go walk their dog around the block and we'd be done in 20 minutes. So like setting expectations when you're the listing agent on what's going to happen during the home inspection, how long the inspector is going to need, what they're going to look at, areas that they're going to need access to, attics. Like we always need to be able to access attics. So sometimes when the closet's packed full of boxes, if the attic access is in the closet, packed full of boxes and clothes, and we can't get to it, that impedes our ability to do a quality inspection because we're unable to get into the attic. Same thing for the crawl space. That's usually not a problem. The only problem we have with crawl spaces is sometimes they're too small, and it's nothing anybody can do about that. And we're both pretty small people, and if we can't fit in, nobody's going in. So, that's just what it is. Access to water heaters, furnaces. We did a house recently where the house was very neat and clean. They'd packed everything up, put it in boxes, put it in the garage, but they stacked all the boxes in front of the water heater and the furnace in the garage. And so we couldn't access them because there was just too much stuff there. So that also impedes our ability to do a quality inspection. So anything where there's major appliances, major systems, I'll just say attic, water heater, furnace. I'm probably forgetting something, but any of the big things. Also, any locked doors in the house, if they could unlock the doors, because a lot of times nobody has the key to that door. So if we sat at a property for like half an hour one time waiting for the seller to come back and unlock a door so we could check a water heater. So if they make sure all the doors are unlocked, and obviously this is going to be difficult, especially with people moving, but the cleaner and more organized the house is, the easier it is for us to do the inspection. This is a problem mostly with tenant occupied properties, where they're lived in, they're not getting ready to sell, and there's just a lot of stuff. And when there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot we can't see. Like when you have a lot of stuff piled on the kitchen counters, like we do our best, we shift things around the best that we can, but you're limited when there's a lot of stuff in the house. So the less they have, the cleaner it is, which I know when you're listing, you guys want it clean and neat and nice looking anyways, but I know sometimes sellers don't listen. So it's the best we can do, but it makes it easier from a home inspection perspective, because we don't run into those situations where we have to be called back. Could that cost the buyer extra money? Like if we have to go back out to re-inspect something because we didn't have access, we don't charge a lot, but it's still, we have to charge a little bit of time to go back out there and inspect that item. It's going to be a lot easier for everybody if we can just do it all at once. And then repairing some minor issues. I kind of talked briefly about this earlier, but just some minor repairs. Anything that's leaking, if they know any faucet is leaking, any pipe is leaking, if there's a bucket that's sitting underneath the sink, underneath the drain, just get it fixed. It's gonna be a lot less painful to pay that plumber, couple $100 to come fix that, or you can fix it yourself. It's super easy to fix that than it is to have us come out, take photos of it, put it in an inspection report, have the buyer possibly get nervous that there's a water leak in the house. So this is just something that can prevent problems. Same thing goes with drains, any clogged drains. The area we find the most clogged drains are bathtubs, because a lot of people don't use their bathtubs. And we find when we go to test them that they're clogged, mostly because they haven't been used in a long time. Another super easy fix, just have somebody come out and unclog it, and or you can do it yourself too. So like I said, these are all easy fixes. Caulking around sinks and toilet bases, basically anywhere where something that has water in it touches something that shouldn't have water on it. You always want to caulk like around any of those areas there. You can do it yourself. I'm not gonna lie, I do it and it looks like a mess. So you might want to have a professional do it if you want it to look nice. So, but it's also another easy fix. If you're relatively handy, something you can do yourself. Also, make sure you replace all the light bulbs. Any light bulbs that are out, it's so much easier if they're all replaced and they're all working. That way we don't have to put it in the report, because while we carry light bulbs and sometimes we switch light bulbs within the house to make sure a light socket works, sometimes that's not available. We don't have the right light bulb. There's no light bulb to move in the house. And in that situation, we can't test it and we don't know whether that socket works or not, and that goes in the report. I haven't really seen that be a significant issue for buyers, but you never know. You never know what can happen.
Oh, I just had to do that.
Yep.
I just had to go over, because it was noted in the report, and show them on video. Switch all the light bulbs out.
Yeah. So it's, if that's just something easy that they can, the sellers can do also, just to prevent all that from happening. Make sure they have smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. If you guys have questions about where they should be, just, shoot me a text. I'll send you a list of exactly where they should have smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in each house. It's gonna be a little different, depending on the size of the house and the hallways and everything like that. But I'm happy to help you with that too. The appraiser is gonna note that also. So it's just something that they're gonna have to fix regardless. So they might as well get it done. Little cracks, like holes in the drywall. And I'm not talking about like little pinholes from like where you hung a picture, but like if somebody kicked a hole in the wall, something like that, if you get that repaired. Some cracks in the drywall that can prevent nervous first time home buyers from being nervous about buying a house that has cracks. So like just, filling those cracks there. And that goes for the outside of the house too. A lot of houses in Southern California are stucco. And stucco cracks, and that's what we tell all the buyers, like stucco cracks. It's just, that's what it's meant to do. So it's fine that it cracks, but you do want to keep them sealed. So if sellers do that too, that also prevents problems. Sometimes I stutter, so when I talk too fast, like my words come out stuttering. That's just the way I talk. What can you do, right? So those are some items that they can do. And if you have a listing and you want to know like specifically some items like within that house that they might want to think about fixing, go ahead and give me a call. I'm more than happy to maybe create like a little list or something like that of things that they can make sure are fixed before they put it for a listing. I don't charge anything for that. Just
Awesome.
just useful information. I can't guarantee it's going to catch everything, but it gives them some tips on some things to look for. Definitely.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I mean, we are here to help you guys sell houses and buy houses for your sellers and buyers. So that's what we're here for. We're here to help buyers make good decisions. Like whatever we can do to help either side, we're more than happy to do that. And then lastly, what to look for in a home inspector. So some people don't realize this, but home inspectors don't actually have to be licensed in the state of California, which is crazy because California requires licenses for everything, but for some reason, anybody can just be a home inspector. So Shelly, if you want to just come be a home inspector, like you can just start doing it. Now, what I tell people, so there are certifications. To be a home inspector, you should be certified. While the state of California doesn't require you to be certified, as an agent, any inspector that you're using, you should verify that they're certified with one of the certifying agencies. Most of them are going to be either InterNACHI or CREA. Those are the two main ones that you're going to see in California. But if you're working with a new home inspector that you haven't worked with before, just ask them for, where they're certified. You can actually like go onto that website, look up their name and make sure they're actually an active certified home inspector. Or you can ask, like we have certificates, so you can always ask us for those also, and we're happy to provide those certificates for you as well. But that's the number one thing. Always make sure they are certified, just to make sure they've been properly trained. Because you don't want, just because somebody's a general contractor doesn't actually mean they are qualified to do a home inspection, because while they're qualified to build a home, there are some items in a home inspection that they may not be looking for that a buyer really needs to know about. So while it gives them a lot of great information, having the certification as a home inspector is a big help also. And then making sure they're insured. So insurance is a big issue. So you want to make sure they have both E&O insurance and general liability insurance. So when I talk about this in an office, I have some fun photos, but I don't have it here. But so for E&O insurance, that covers anything that we might miss in an inspection. So as agents, you guys know what E&O insurance is. But if we make a mistake, which hopefully doesn't happen, but nobody's perfect. If we make any type of mistake, we miss something. So in the 2+ years we've been operating, we've only missed one thing. It was a small thing. We just covered it out of pocket. But if something happens where your inspector misses something significant that causes the buyer to have to, pay out some significant money, E&O insurance will cover that. So that covers us in case we are, I don't want to use the word negligent, but I guess that's just the word. So that your buyers and you guys, because when something happens in the house, the first person that person's going to call is you. They don't call us, they call the agent because you have the relationship with them. So you want to be able to make sure that you can go back to the inspector that you use and feel good that they are going to be able to cover that for you. Because it makes us look bad, obviously, if we're like, we're not gonna do that, and it makes you guys look bad because you worked with somebody that isn't standing behind their work. So you do want to make sure they have that insurance. And then general liability insurance is for if something happens on the property. One of the inspectors that I know that works up in the Inland Empire, he recently fell through a ceiling. He didn't get hurt, he was fine, but that's damage to the ceiling. So we've never done anything like that, but stuff like that happens, especially like if we're in like this time of year, hot attics. We spend the smallest amount of time we can up there and get as much done as we can with the heat. But just in case something happens, somebody passes out, somebody puts their foot through the ceiling, our general liability insurance will cover any damage done. So any damage done to the property while we're there, that's what that insurance covers. So we have both levels of insurance to make sure that your buyer or your seller is covered in if we do anything wrong at the house at all, which I hope doesn't happen, but we do the best we can.
Yep.
So that's very important. It's good that people feel comfortable. And any inspector you use should be able to provide you with, some type of documentation that they have insurance. So that should be easy. And then also you want somebody who's responsive. If your inspector is gonna send the report off and then like just be unavailable for questions or anything. Granted, I'm going on vacation in a couple weeks, so I probably won't be available. But like in general, we'll just use that. You want to make sure they're going to be responsive to questions, both before, during, and after the inspection for anybody, whether it's the agent, whether it's the buyer, even the seller. Like we've answered seller questions before as well. If they have a question about the inspection report, somehow they've gotten it from the buyer. I'm like, we'll answer any questions anytime, but make sure the inspector, whatever inspector you use, regardless of whether it's us or not, make sure that they're going to be available to help you if you can. And that's also why you want to make sure they're certified and they're insured, because that means they're running a proper business. They're not going to issue you a report and then in 6 months they're going to be gone, like off the grid somewhere. Also delivering reports in a timely manner. So we personally do same day reports. I think a lot of inspection companies do reports typically within the same day, or at least within 1 to 2 days. But we're seeing a lot of really, really tight escrow periods. So we have an inspection scheduled tomorrow for an escrow that they just opened. It's 14 days. Like the entire escrow period is 14 days. So like they got to get this done fast. But a lot of the inspection periods are 7 to 10 days we're seeing. So, we try to schedule as fast as we can. Usually it's anywhere within 1 to 3 days. It depends on how busy we are. But reports are always delivered the same day unless you request a 6 p.m. inspection, in which case it'll be the next morning. So that's happened a couple times. And then
do you have a repair cost estimator option?
We do not. Well, no, we don't do it in our reports. Have you guys ever heard of the Quick Fix before? So there's a company, there's a company called the Quick Fix. The owner's name is Jeremy Henley. And I work with him all the time. So what they do is they actually can take our inspection reports and generate a repair estimate. We just don't have the knowledge. We don't personally have the knowledge to do a repair estimate. There is a company that we work with. This is the franchise that the franchise works with that we can get estimates from, but honestly, I would go with the Quick Fix. Don't tell my franchise I said that, but I would go with the Quick Fix just because they turn it around in 24 hours. I think it costs $60, but you can, I actually have a promotion code where I think they do the first one for you for free. But yeah, they'll take the inspection report and you can either have them do the whole report, you can give them parts of it, whatever you want, and they'll generate a repair estimate. They have a bunch of like general contractors, and I think you'll have to verify this with them, and I can give you their information too offline if you'd like. I think they actually, whatever estimate they give you, like that contractor will go out and do it for that price. Like that's a guaranteed estimate that they provide. So just verify that with them. I'm 99% sure that that's what he stands by. But just, you know, just double, I don't want to sign him up for something that that he doesn't do. But yeah, he works a lot. I know he does a lot of stuff in the coastal area, so obviously he hasn't made it up to you guys yet. But yeah, they offer good service there. And then lastly, like your inspector should be generally professional looking, clean. They should be knowledgeable about what they're talking about. So, you know, sometimes when it's really hot in the summer and it's the second or third inspection of the day, we may not be as fresh as we were in the morning, but you should always still look clean and professional, you know, shirts tucked in, everything like that. So we always say a professional looking inspector means that they're, you know, a professional, knowledgeable, like well qualified inspector. So those, oh good. I spent a little longer than I thought I was.
You were awesome.
Perfect.
That was really
yeah, and I'm happy to
informative.
answer. Okay, good. I'm glad. I know sometimes I can be a little all over the place. But yeah, like that's, like I said, I'm always happy to answer any questions for anybody. If you or anybody on your team ever wants to just talk about inspections, I'm more than happy to answer a call, hop on a call. I'll come by your office if you ever need that. Also, I can do that too.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. What is the craziest thing you've ever seen? I wanted to ask you that.
Oh my gosh. So we did a multifamily inspection recently where underneath the house, I don't know if this was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'll tell you too. So underneath the house, I don't know, somebody dug out this giant trench, and you'll probably see this on Facebook soon too. It's in my schedule. And all the footings to the property in the crawl space, not all of them, the ones in the center had been almost completely dug out and were just like halfway hanging there, which I was appalled by. I mean that for us, that's a bad issue to find in an inspection, to have all of your footings dug out in the middle of the house. But the weirdest thing I think we've ever seen is the mattress in the attic, and I love that one because it's one of those things. I didn't see it. Kevin was the one who saw it, but he took a picture of me and even sent it to me like at the inspection. He's like, I just walked up into the attic and there's a mattress up here. I was like, oh. So that's probably the most odd thing that we've seen.
Crazy. Yeah, I don't understand the footings at all. That's bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know. They said that they did some repairs down there, and sometimes we don't ever get the full story, but it's a significant issue if all, the support for your house is dug up and no longer supported.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Anybody have questions for Danielle? Chris, I know you have a listing coming up, so good to know that you can reach out to her if you have any questions.
Yep, 100%.
That sounds good. I appreciate it. The price on that repair option that you got, that's pretty good, because the inspectors I've used, there's two of them that have it, but they charge like $125. And the contractors they won't for sure come out and do it for that price. So and usually you use it more as leverage for negotiating tool than anything, because a lot of times it's stuff that maybe buyers think they want, but then when they get a credit and then when it comes time to actually fixing it, they don't actually fix it. So
I mean, it's
that's good price.
Yeah, like I said, we had the other tool that we use at the franchise level, and that is more, I think it's $90 that we charge for that, but it's the same thing where it's mostly for a negotiating tool as opposed to actually getting somebody to come out and do it. So I can use either way, but I like the quick fix, and I also like to support other small businesses in the area also.
Right. Definitely. Cool. And Chris, I'll get you Danielle's phone number, so then you guys can you can text back and forth and whatnot. Well, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Danielle, for coming on.
Well, thank you so much, Shelly. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully we'll be in touch soon for some
Yeah, awesome.
new inspections. And I think the next listing I take, I am going to do a pre-listing.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's a really great idea to just get
I
that
always think it's
over with.
I obviously am going to promote it.
Yeah. Well, it's good. All right, cool. Thanks everyone for coming on. Appreciate it. And have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. See you later.